hindi ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta at sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin. Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi.
In the annals of tennis history, some moments are defined by a glorious championship point, a record-breaking serve, or a tearful farewell from a legend. But in January 2026, history was written not on a show court, but on the humble asphalt of Court 6 at the Australian Open, and it was written not with polite applause, but with a roar that threatened to tear the very fabric of the happy slam. This is the story of how a 20-year-old Filipino phenom, Eala, and her army of supporters inadvertently staged a revolution, forcing the tennis world to its knees and heralding a new, passionate, and unapologetically loud era for the sport. Picture the scene: Melbourne Park, the second Monday of the tournament. The Australian Open, known for its laid-back atmosphere, was anything but. Court 6, a tiny side court with a capacity meant for a few hundred dedicated fans, had become the epicenter of a human tidal wave. Thousands of Filipino supporters, a diaspora mobilized with military precision, had descended upon the grounds. They weren't there for Nadal or Djokovic, they had come for their hero, Eala. Security barriers strained against the sheer mass of people. Fans, desperate for a glimpse, clung to fences and railings. The chants were so deafening, a cacophony of national pride and unbridled joy, that they echoed across the park, distracting players on the main Rod Laver Arena. The organizers, who in a monumental act of miscalculation had scheduled the hottest rising star in women's tennis on a court, more akin to a parking lot, were in a full-blown panic. Police were dispatched, and the fire marshal threatened a shutdown, not because of a riot, but because of an outpouring of love and support so immense it brought the tournament's logistics to a grinding halt. This was the Court 6 revolution. On paper, the match ended in a loss for Eala against the powerful American Alicia Parks, with a score of 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. But the result was a mere footnote to the larger story. The real story was in the terrified eyes of the organizers, who had treated the draw like a cold equation, forgetting the human element, the puso factor. Puso, a Tagalog word meaning heart, transcends its literal definition in Filipino sports culture. It signifies a fierce, almost spiritual dedication to one's countrymen. The scheduling committee had forgotten that Eala, despite being a newer face in the top 50, represented 115 million people starved for a tennis hero. Michael Chang, a witness to the beautiful chaos, articulated the establishment's blunder perfectly. We underestimated her far too much. The crowd's passion ignited controversy. Tennis etiquette, with its sacred silences and polite claps, was thrown out the window. The Filipino fans cheered for everything: Eala's winners, her walk to the towel, and, most controversially, her opponent's double faults. The media cried unsportsmanlike, but the fans called it passion. Alicia Parks, to her credit, admitted she was rattled. It was like playing an away Davis Cup final in the first round of a Grand Slam. The old world order of tennis, with its reserved and elite sensibilities, had metaphorically collapsed. The message was clear and undeniable. Tennis belongs to the masses, to the passionate nations who had been waiting in the wings. Eala would never be hidden on a side court again. This seismic event in Melbourne was no accident. It was the culmination of a phenomenal 2025 season that saw Eala transform from a promising prospect into a certified tour predator. Starting the year ranked outside the top 140, she tore through the rankings to finish inside the top 50. The turning point was the Miami Miracle. Entering the Miami Open as a wild card, she was dismissed by critics as too small and inexperienced. She responded with a stunning display of talent and grit, taking down 3 titans of the game: world number 1 Aga Swiatek, Grand Slam champion Jelena Ostapenko, and American powerhouse Madison Keys. Beating Swiatek alone was a career-defining moment, but Eala proved it was no fluke by tactically dismantling Ostapenko's power and outsmarting Keys in a masterclass of courtcraft. The momentum continued. At the US Open, she shattered a long-standing barrier, becoming the first Filipino player in history to win a main draw match at a Grand Slam. This victory was more than just a single win. It was a breakthrough moment for a nation, a validation that they belonged on the sport's biggest stages. It ignited a tennis boom across the Philippines that continues to grow. Then, just weeks before the Australian Open in January 2026, she stormed to the semifinals of the ASB Classic in New Zealand, dispatching experienced veterans like Donna Vekic and Magda Linette. These were not lucky wins. They were comprehensive victories that showcased her evolution. The junior champion who won the US Open Girls title in 2022 was gone, replaced by a formidable tour-level threat. Her lefty, whip-like forehand, her grit. Reminiscent of her mentor Rafael Nadal, her improved serve, and her exceptional mental fortitude had combined to create a truly dangerous player. Now, shift your gaze 6,000 kilometers north, from the heat of Melbourne to the humid, electric air of Manila. In a move that speaks volumes about her priorities, Eala flew home immediately after the Australian Open. History was waiting. For the first time ever, the Philippines is hosting a WTA 125 event, the Philippine Women's Open. For decades, Filipino fans had to rely on grainy online streams to watch pro tennis. Now the tour has come to them, and the timing is nothing short of cinematic. The tournament, the first major project of the Philippine Sports Commission for 2026, is being held at the hallowed Rizal Memorial Tennis Center. The face of it all, the reason tickets sold out faster than a K-pop concert, is the girl who broke Court 6. Despite the hero's welcome and the suffocating national expectations, Eala remains a picture of calm. At the pre-tournament press conference, reporters baited her, looking for a bold proclamation of victory. She simply smiled and delivered a line straight from the Rafa Nadal playbook. "I never go into any tournament thinking to win the whole thing. I take it match by match." This humble, professional mindset is the very source of her on-court strength, but it drives the fans wild with anticipation. They don't want match by match, they want a coronation. The stage is now set for her opening match, a round of 32 clash against Elena Korneva. While Korneva is ranked lower at 169, she represents the formidable Russian school of tennis, known for producing mentally tough baseliners with flawless fundamentals. Adding a layer of spice to the encounter is their history. They met once before, back in 2020 on the ITF circuit in Spain. Eala, then a raw 15-year-old, was beaten soundly, 6-3, 6-3. That loss sits in the record books, a psychological chip that Korneva can bring onto the court. She knows she has beaten Eala before. But the Eala of 2020 is not the Eala of 2026. The girl who lost in Spain has been replaced by a top 50 powerhouse, a national hero playing in her own backyard. Korneva is walking into the lion's den. If the Australian Open crowd was intense, the atmosphere in Manila will be a force of nature. This time, the chaos is welcome. Every point will be a drama, every Eala winner a cause for celebration, every Korneva error met with a deafening roar. The pressure on the Russian will be immense. For Eala, the pressure is different but equally intense. She must channel the overwhelming energy of the home crowd, using it as fuel without letting the weight of expectation crush her. She has framed the crowd as her weapon, a source of strength. This mindset will be crucial as she navigates the emotional minefield of playing at home. Tactically, the match presents a fascinating contrast. Korneva is a consistent baseliner who makes few unforced errors. Eala is the more versatile player, with the ability to create sharp angles with her lefty forehand and finish points at the net. The key for Eala will be to dictate the tempo, using her serve and variety to disrupt Korneva's rhythm and prevent her from settling into comfortable baseline rallies. And then there is the revenge factor. A win would not only advance her in the tournament, but would also be a symbolic closing of a chapter, a definitive statement of how far she has come. This single match in a 125-level tournament matters. So much because it is a microcosm of a larger shift in the world of sports. Tennis, for so long dominated by Europe, the United States, and Australia, is being democratized. The Court 6 revolution was a warning shot, and the Philippine Women's Open is the glorious opportunity that has sprung from it. We are witnessing the birth of the Philippines as a tennis destination, powered by a fan base that is loud, proud, and here to stay. They are rewriting the rules of fandom, proving that passion can challenge tradition. We are witnessing the prime of Alex Eala. At 20 years old, she is entering her peak, with the physical strength, mental maturity, and technical skill to challenge the very best. Whether she can break into the top 20 or even contend for Grand Slams in the coming years remains to be seen, but her trajectory is undeniable. More than that, we are witnessing the power of representation. In a country obsessed with basketball and boxing, Eala has become a new icon, a hero on the level of Manny Pacquiao. She carries the hopes of her nation with a grace and humility that belie her years. The world is watching. Tournament organizers, players, and sponsors are all tuned in. To underestimate Eala or the power of her nation is to make the same mistake the Australian Open did. And as we all saw, that ended with a revolution. Whether she wins or loses this match, the larger victory is already secured. Eala is their champion, the Philippines has arrived in tennis, and the sport will never be the same.